the killing of an American journalist in Palestine as she was doing her job. And with us this morning, Imad Hamad. Good morning, Imad. Thank you for being with us.
Good morning, Khalil, to you and to your listeners. And thank you for such important discussion under these tough circumstances.
Absolutely. Imad is Executive Director of American Human Rights Council. And then you guys, I think yesterday you released a release condemning the event. Could you tell us a little bit more about it? And this is not the first time this happened. Is that correct?
True. That's why the rhetoric of condemnation, although it's needed, although it's a point to make, but it's time is due to go beyond that. I think it's a fact that Israel has a policy, has a trend of political targeting and political assassinations of many folks within the occupied territories, including journalists. We all remember during the Gaza war, the latest Gaza war, how Israel bombarded the AP, the Associated Press facility and building. And Israel was never held accountable. How many American peace activists were killed? One of them, the famous Richard Coury, and one time passed by and Israel never held accountable. This is just another a crime, another violation of the human rights, another brutal act of that goes beyond description. We hope that this time, at least the U.S. administration respect its own commitment. When candidate Biden ran for the election, he made a statement that his administration is going to be savvy towards human rights. But it's the unfortunate fact that when it comes to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, and when it comes to the favorite baby, quote-unquote, Israel become above the norms, of the double standards and political hypocrisy become the norm. This is why the targeted killing of Shireen Abu Akleh, who's a Palestinian American journalist who was doing her job and intentionally shot by Israeli sniper. This is a crime against humanity that should not pass like any other crime. It's just a reminder that time is due for Israel to be held accountable. That's why the whole world, not just AHRC, I think the human rights community, reporters, journalists, should condemn that. What is appalling is that some journalists and some reporters just are silent, or they report in the killing like she chose to die, or she was killed or hit while as a result of a crossfire from the Palestinian side, not the Israeli side. This is baloney, and nobody can accept this. Look what happened in Ukraine. When a journalist anywhere in the world gets captured, gets killed, you see the whole world upside down, including America. When it comes to Palestinians, unfortunately, Palestinians in their book are not counted as humans, and they continue to deal with us as Palestinians as subhumans. Enough is enough. And that, unfortunately, will add to the feud, will add to the conflict. And this rhetoric of peace will fade away and will never end. The conflict will never end. Palestinians are not going to give up. Shireen Abu Akleh is only another murder added to the long list. We have to keep in mind that thousands of Palestinians who are still behind bars, including young children, women, etc. So Israel is one state that violates human rights on a daily basis, and unfortunately, no accountability, no liability, and this a crime. They try to do the same thing, flip the story, flip the truth, and yet to blame the Palestinian side, the victim in this situation, be blamed on what's happening there.
So what's being planned locally in regard to this event? Is there anything being planned locally?
Yes, I think a few sister organizations took a good initiative prior to the assassination of Abu Akleh, and they called for a march for Palestine, commemorating the Palestinian catastrophe and Nakba, the 1948 catastrophe. And now with the killing of Shireen Abu Akleh, I think it added to the importance of this symbolic gathering and this symbolic march in solidarity with the Palestinian people under the Israeli occupation. The demands are the same. For the past 75 years or so, Palestinian peace-loving people all over the world, including Dearborn, including Michigan, including major cities across the states, will never let go of this sad and unfortunate tragic date of a Nakba passed by without observation. So I call upon all of peace-loving people in the greater Detroit area to take part and to join this march and this gathering on May 15 in Dearborn.
Any final thoughts, Imad?
Well, we Palestinians, Arab Americans, the community at large is a peace-loving community. Nobody is fond of war. Nobody is fond of conflict. The truth is clear. I think the long list of UN resolutions that try to address and help solve this unfortunate ongoing Arab-Israeli conflict failed simply because Israel managed to be in defiance. And Israel is one state that continues to live in defiance against the international will and the international community. And unfortunately, our American unconditional aid to Israel is helping Israel to be above all and have some sort of double standards when it comes to Israel. So we're not going to give up. We know it's a hard job. We know it's a difficult task. We know the politics. We know the lobby power. But that doesn't make us any less determined that this must change. It's the American interest to be neutral. It's the American interest to put an end to this conflict. It's due time for the American administration to put the American interest first and not to keep the Israeli interest first.
Imad, thank you so much. We appreciate all you do in this community. Imad Hamad, Executive Director of American Human Rights Council. And, day in and day out, you guys are just busy trying to make sure that human rights are protected. We want to thank you so much for taking the time to be with us this morning.
Sure. Can I say one last thought? We have to keep in mind that
yes, please.
The Palestinian issue or the Palestinian cause is not a Republican issue. It's not a Democratic issue. It's not a liberal issue. It's simply a human rights issue, period. And thank you again.
Absolutely. Thank you, Imad.